And a Fox News alert, the conflict in Iran intensifies as fighting expands across the Middle East. The U.S. and Israel striking targets in a massive display of firepower with one key goal: disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's offensive military capabilities. That's quite a to-do list.
That is a lot of D's.
It is. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Morning to you, Dana. Short weekend for everybody. It's day 3. I'm Bill Hemmer, back at it. We'll see how long this goes together. We expect to hear from the president about an hour from now, following the Pentagon's update on Operation Epic Fury about 1 hour ago. U.S. forces launching overwhelming surgical attacks on Iran's military, taking the fight to Iran with a major focus on missiles and nuclear targets. Here you will see U.S. strikes hitting mobile launchers as Iran continues to fire ballistic missiles, indiscriminately targeting locations throughout the region, the Gulf states and Israel.
Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane describes the ongoing operation as he reveals more U.S. troops are being deployed to the Middle East.
This was a massive, overwhelming attack across all domains of warfare, striking more than 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours. We are now roughly 57 hours into the operation. In the initial phase, CENTCOM's focus was systematic targeting of Iranians' command and control infrastructure, naval forces, ballistic missile sites, and intelligence infrastructure designed to daze and confuse them. The combined impact of these strikes, swift, precise, and overwhelming, has resulted in the establishment of local air superiority. This air superiority will not only enhance the protection of our forces, but also allow them to continue the work over Iran. Operations will remain active across the theater and across the globe. The U.S. forces are postured not only to maintain pressure, but to respond and adapt as required. Operation Epic Fury stands as a reminder of what the United States military uniquely delivers: the ability to project power on a global scale with speed, surprise, precision, and overwhelming force.
We have Fox team coverage anchor Brett Baer joining us in a moment. Lucas Tomlinson is live in Istanbul, but let's start with Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin. Hi, Jennifer. Good morning.
Hi, Dana. Well, I was in the Pentagon briefing this morning, but we were not called on for a question. We had assigned seats, and Fox News was put in the back row. And there was no outside cuts camera allowed to show who was asking the questions. The Pentagon wanted to control all of that. These are the questions I would have asked if called on. Why was this an imminent threat? Oman's foreign minister said there was progress in the nuclear talks. Was there any evidence that Iran was planning a preemptive strike? U.S. officials now say that was not the case. Do you know where the highly enriched uranium is? That is the question Secretary Hegseth did not want to answer last summer after claiming Iran's nuclear program had been obliterated in Operation Midnight Hammer. The secretary said this war is not about regime change, even though the president called on the Iranians to rise up and remove the regime. My follow-up would have been, how are unarmed Iranian civilians expected to overthrow Iran's security forces? And is this success if the same regime stays in place after this war ends? One question that was shouted at the end and left unanswered: how do you keep this from becoming an insurgency? General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, went through a tick-tock of when the president gave the go-ahead: 3:38 p.m. on Friday. Major combat operations began, he said, early Saturday at 01:15 Eastern Daylight Time, when it was 9:45 a.m. in Tehran.
As dawn crept up across the Central Command AOR, the skies surged to life. More than 100 aircraft launched from land, sea, fighters, tankers, airborne early warning, electronic attack, bombers from the states, and unmanned platforms, forming a single synchronized wave.
General Kane said more U.S. forces are flowing into the region. Secretary Hegseth would not rule out having U.S. troops on the ground in Iran, but said it would not be 200,000 troops like in Iraq. The secretary said the 4 U.S. troops killed yesterday took a direct hit to the tactical operations center they were manning, and took offense when reporters asked him to articulate why the American people are sending their men and women to war, and if he is concerned about it spiraling into a longer war.
Did you not hear my remarks? I mean, we're ensuring the mission gets accomplished, but we are very clear-eyed, as the president has been, unlike other presidents, about the foolish policies of the past that recklessly pulled us in to things that were not tethered to actual clear objectives.
They gave few details about the 3 American F-15s and 6 pilots who were shot down by Kuwaiti friendly fire. All are safe.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes.
It was very significant to hear General Kane say that they now have air superiority over Iran. That means they've suppressed all of the air defense systems, and that will give them a lot of leeway in terms of going after those targets. President Trump said last night this operation could last 4 weeks or less. The Pentagon did not want to put a timeline on it. Dana.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much.
So from Washington to Istanbul, Lucas Tomlinson reports from Turkey on the latest from the region there. Lucas, hello.
Good morning, Bill. And as we just heard from Jennifer Griffin, U.S. Central Command says those 3 U.S. Air Force F-15 Strike Eagles were shot down at 7 a.m. local time in the skies over Kuwait in a friendly fire incident that CENTCOM blamed on the Kuwaiti air defense systems. All 6 on board the 3 jets ejected safely. That would be 3 pilots and the 3 weapon systems officers, or WIZOs, the backseaters, Bill. And earlier in Istanbul, Turkey's president says this war has the potential to spiral out of control.
If common sense and reason do not prevail, and if diplomacy is not given space, our region risks being dragged into a ring of fire. This must not be allowed.
And Iranian attacks continue against Gulf allies. There are reports Iran and Iranian-backed militias fired missiles at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait earlier. And in Saudi Arabia, Iran struck Saudi Aramco, the largest oil company in the world. There are reports one of the refineries has been shut down. And Qatari Energy, accounting for 18 to 20% of global liquefied natural gas trading, has stopped production of LNG. And Iranian drones also hit Erbil International Airport in northern Iraq, home to the Kurds, which also houses a U.S. military base. And one of the reasons the Israeli Air Force was able to send 200 fighter jets into Iran to kill its supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was because the U.S. deployed 100 mid-air refueling planes to the region. That's double the number used in Midnight Hammer. As we just heard from the Pentagon briefing, the U.S. military has hit 1,000 targets in Iran over the first 24 hours of this operation. We're now in day 3, about 58 hours in. And we also heard from General Kane earlier that President Trump gave the order for this operation at 3:38 p.m. Friday afternoon. That would have been about 10 minutes before Air Force One arrived in Corpus Christi, Texas on Friday, Bill.
Yeah, okay, Lucas, thanks. Lucas Tomlinson reporting from Istanbul. Thank you, Lucas.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.